Hello, my name is Robin and I'm a storyteller. Welcome to my summer reading challenge video for York Libraries. Now the challenge part of the summer reading challenge is to read 6 books over the summer holidays. So that's 6 books of your choosing, and that works out at about 1 book a week. So you can do that no problem. You can sign up for the summer reading challenge at your local library, and a record of your reading is kept everywhere. So you don't have to keep popping into the same library if you don't want. You can just go to whichever one's easiest or nearest. If you prefer, you can sign up online through the Summer Reading Challenge website, and all details of signing up and other upcoming activities can be found here. Now today, I'm going to be telling you a story that a lot of you may already know, but I'm going to be telling it to you in a way that hopefully you haven't seen before. The story is, well, let's see if you can guess what it is. It takes place in and around a forest. There's a grandma in it. There's a wolf in it. There's a little girl who likes to wear red in it. Can you guess? Yeah, of course, it's Little Red Riding Hood. So settle down, relax, open up your lug holes and enjoy the story of Little Red Riding Hood with the help of some shadow puppetry. How do all good stories start? Oh, I know. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl. And everybody liked her. None more so than her grandmother. Who one day made her a bright red riding cloak with a bright red hood. And the little girl liked her bright red riding cloak with its bright red hood so much that she wore it day in and day out, day in and day out, until by and by she became known as Little Red Riding Hood. She lived in a house near a forest. With her mother. One day, her mother packed a basket full of food for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother, who lived on the other side of the forest. Now remember, said her mum, go straight there, don't dawdle, don't stray from the path, and don't talk to strangers. Yes, Mum, replied Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood was about halfway through the forest when what should step out onto the path in front of her but a wolf. "What are you doing so far into the forest?" asked the wolf, trying to sound as friendly as possible. I'm on my way to Grandma's house." "Oh, and where might Grandma live?" "Oh, at the end of this path." The wolf saw an opportunity to eat both Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. "Why do you hurry so much, little girl?" said the wolf. "Look around you at the beauty of the forest, the way the sunlight shines through the leaves, the beautiful flowers." Sure enough, there were some very beautiful flowers in between the trees. And Little Red Riding Hood forgot her promise to her mother, and she left the forest path. For the first time, Little Red Riding Hood really looked around her at the forest. She heard the birds singing in the trees. She saw the way the light made pretty patterns on the mossy floor. And she saw a beautiful flower. Granny will love this flower, thought Little Red Riding Hood, picking it and adding it to her basket. And then she saw another, an even prettier flower a little further away. She picked that one too. Oh, and then she saw another one. Oh, and another. Meanwhile, the wolf had arrived at Grandmother's house. He knocked on the door. "Oh my, who could it be?" asked Grandmother. "Oh dear, oh my." Shortly after the wolf had climbed into bed, Little Red Riding Hood came to the door, her basket full of food and now flowers too. The wolf tried to copy Granny's voice. "Oh my, oh my, who could it be? It's me, Granny." She could scarcely recognise her grandmother. "Your voice sounds odd, Granny." Yes, I've got a cold." "Grandma, what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with." "Grandma, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you with." "Grandma, what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with." Now, it just so happened that a woodcutter was passing by and heard the commotion. He often popped in on Granny because she lived on her own and he wanted to make sure she was okay. And he chased the wolf away.
"Oh, no! Oh, run! Oh, get you! Go on! Run away! Get out of it!"
Little Red Riding Hood was shaken, but she was okay. And so was Granny, who'd been hiding in the cupboard all this time. Together they ate all the food Little Red Riding Hood had brought. And the flowers looked very nice in Grandmother's vase. Now, how do all good stories end? Oh, yes. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Well, that was the story of Little Red Riding Hood. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the shadow puppets as well. Now, the baddie of the story is a wolf, isn't it? But are wolves really as big and as bad as people like to think they are? Well, let's find out with my 6 interesting facts that you may or may not already know about wolves. Wolves have been widely misunderstood throughout the years as being wild and deadly beasts, but actually they're highly intelligent pack animals. They are the creatures of myth and folklore, appearing in many stories. You may know some of these. Little Red Riding Hood, of course. Or another fairy tale, The 3 Little Pigs. There's novels, like The Jungle Book. Or this one. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And there are fables like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. But do you know some of these facts? 1. Once a wolf has found a mate, they stay together for life, which is nice. Only the pack leaders do this, however. The less important wolves just help to raise the babies. Oh, here's a wolf puppy. Cute. 2. Perhaps the most well-known characteristic of the wolf is its howl. Arr, arr. They do this to communicate with each other, find out whether a wolf is alone or in a pack, whether to attack or retreat. 3. Wolves are fast. They can sprint at speeds of 36 to 38 miles per hour for short distances. The fastest recorded human, Usain Bolt, has clocked a top speed of 28 miles per hour. That's 10 miles per hour less than your average wolf. No wonder the wolf got to Grandma's house before Little Red Riding Hood. 4. Wolves can eat a huge amount. As much as 9 kilograms, that's as much as 3 bricks in one sitting. That's why when we eat a lot quickly, we call it wolfing our food down. 5. Our doggy friends are descended from the wolf. Many thousands of years ago, humans and wolves started to share homes together, and we've been friends ever since. Many dogs don't look very wolf-like anymore, do they? And 6. Wolves are in danger. Because we humans like to spread out, cut down forests and build our houses, the wolf is losing its own home. But they can still be found in national parks in places like North America, Northern Europe and Russia. The last wolf went extinct here in Britain, when people looked and dressed like this, in 1760. My next story is a folk tale all the way from China. Now, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy gardening. I love seeing plants and flowers growing up from all the seeds I put into the ground. And this story is about a little boy who also, like me, really enjoys gardening. So, if you're ready, sit back, relax, open up your lug holes and enjoy my story. It's called The Empty Pot. This story takes place a very long time ago in China. And the emperor of China was a very, very old man. And he wondered who was going to rule China after he had gone. He had no children of his own, you see, so it wasn't all that simple. And how do you choose an heir anyway? How do you find someone that is just and brave and honest? It just so happened he was taking his daily walk in the palace gardens, pondering this very issue. He looked fondly at the lovely flowers waving in the gentle summer breeze, the busy bees, and the gardeners hard at work. He rather admired the gardeners, the way they could make things grow up out of the ground, their relationship with the natural world. And that's when he had an idea. It was perhaps the best idea the emperor had ever had. And the next day, there was a royal proclamation. By royal decree, any child wishing to become the next emperor of China must visit the palace tomorrow morning and take away 1 seed. In 6 months' time,
The child that has grown the finest and the loveliest flower from their seed will become emperor. Well, you can imagine the excitement. And the next morning, the palace courtyard was full of children and parents, all waiting in line patiently to receive their one little seed. All the parents dreaming what it would be like to have their child as the Emperor of China. All the children dreaming what it's going to be like to actually be the Emperor of China. And one such child was Jun. Jun was considered to be the best gardener in his village. He could often be seen in his little garden at home, deadheading the flowers, moving saplings to a nicer place in the sun, watering thirsty plants, pulling up new weeds. His flowers were the finest and the loveliest flowers that anyone had ever seen. His vegetables were the largest and tastiest vegetables anyone had ever tasted. Everyone who knew him thought that Jun was bound to win this competition. And Jun himself was very excited to receive his seed. He carried it carefully home, securely held in his hands, not too tight so as to crush it, but tight enough that it wouldn't fall and be lost. The next day, Jun got a plant pot. He put some small stones in the bottom for drainage. He filled the pot with his best soil. He placed the royal seed on top of the soil. And placed a little soft compost on top. He gently watered the seed. Then he waited. And all over the country, children were doing exactly the same thing, waiting for their seed to sprout, grow, and blossom into a beautiful flower. And soon they were. Little green shoots began to appear in all the plant pots. Hundreds and hundreds of flowers started to grow. But not in Jun's. No matter what he did, nothing was growing in his plant pot. All over China, children were moving their pots into the sunshine, giving them a little bit of water, building a protective wall around them just in case any other child might accidentally or not so accidentally knock the pot over. And soon, big green leaves started to appear on hundreds of plants. But not Jun's. He was very confused. He knew he'd done nothing wrong, but still his pot was empty of flowers. He carefully changed the soil in case he'd used bad compost. He moved it to another spot in case it wasn't getting enough sun. He checked for beetles in case they were eating the roots. He watered it more. He fed it plant food. He was at his wit's end. 6 months passed, and the day came for the children to take their plant pots to the palace, to be judged by the old emperor himself. So they all put on their best clothes, and they carried their pots, each with a beautiful flower in it, through the palace gates and into the courtyard. Jun was there too. Despite his best efforts, despite caring for it every single day, his pot was empty. Well, it had some soggy compost in it. He had nothing to show. He felt so ashamed. And everybody either felt pity for him, that this brilliant gardener had been unable to grow anything, or they mocked him. What a stupid boy for bringing an empty pot. Then everyone fell silent. The emperor had arrived. The old man walked up and down the lines of proud parents and smiling children, looking at each and every flower. Each flower he passed was more beautiful and more fine than the last, but he didn't seem pleased. In fact, he had a frown on his face. Everyone looked at each other. What was the problem? Eventually, the emperor arrived at Jun. The Emperor looked down at Jun's empty pot. And his frown turned into a scowl. Why have you brought me an empty pot, young man? Asked the Emperor. Jun looked up. I don't know, he said. I don't know why it didn't grow. I did everything I usually do. I fed it, I watered it, I put it in the sun. I feel so ashamed. I brought it to apologise. The Emperor was silent for a while, and then he turned and addressed the crowd. The seeds that I gave to each and every one of you 6 months ago had all been cooked in an oven. And no plants will ever grow from a cooked seed. Then the Emperor continued, You've all cheated. Every single last one of you. Well, all except this young man here. He's the only one honest enough not to cheat and brave enough to admit his failure. And so, he said, turning to Jun, I will reward him with the whole kingdom and make him Emperor of China. And he did. The end. Now, a very famous animal comes from China. It's called the giant panda. And I'm sure you must have seen pictures of one, or even seen a real one, perhaps, in a zoo somewhere. But do you know the following interesting facts about this shy black and white bear? 1. A panda's favourite food is, of course, bamboo. And they eat a lot. Every day, one panda will eat 12 kilograms, that's 27 pounds of the stuff. That's about the same as a big tin of paint. Or a 2-year-old. To eat this much, a panda must munch away for 10 to 16 hours a day. 2. We humans have something called an opposable thumb. That means we can touch each of our fingers on the same hand with it. It helps us hold things easily. A panda doesn't have an opposable thumb, but to help it keep hold of the bamboo, it has an extended wrist bone, which pretty much serves the same purpose. 3. Pandas are 99% veggie. They are bears, though, and bears, like humans, are omnivores. Being an omnivore means you can eat meat and vegetables and eggs and, well, pretty much anything, really. Pandas can also eat beans and eggs and even small animals. 4. Unlike most bears, pandas don't hibernate in the winter. When it starts to get cold, they move further down their mountain homes, where it's warmer. And they continue eating bamboo. 5. When they're born, pandas are pink and no larger than a mouse. 6. Pandas poo about 40 times a day. 7. Pandas were for a very long time endangered. The World Wide Fund for Nature uses the panda as its symbol. The remaining wild pandas can be found in the mountains of central China. But there are only around 1,800 left. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening to my stories. Remember to pop along to York Libraries, won't you, for more stories and more books. Oh, and to join in with the Summer Reading Challenge too. Goodbye.